we move on to the next phase where we have a little bit of discussion about what's going on within each of the countries. So if you could keep your answers a bit short so that we can get through as many questions as we can within the allowed time. So the first one is, within your respective countries or organization, what is the public sentiment regarding reducing emissions from livestock sector? I think Dr. Raji, you already mentioned a little bit, but we can expand that a little bit.
Yeah, particularly in India, we have not much with this emission matter is not there at present. But with that M3 coming in, we are more focused on the methane mitigation, but because in India we are more focused on the productivity at present. The methane emission of methane is not in that agenda. But the government is working on the policies for the biogases. Enteric fermentation is yet to sink in the minds of the people, at least even in the academic people or at the policy making decision. The enteric fermentation is yet to sink in them. So it will take time, but we are there with the Maharashtra Methane Mission coming out with all these objectives there in this. And once we start it, we definitely were sure that the rest of the governments will also come into this.
Yeah, thanks, Ermias. Excuse me. In New Zealand, I think the general public are very positive about reducing greenhouse gases. It's a necessary action. They're concerned about climate change. We live in the roaring 30s and 40s of the South Pacific, so we tend to see a lot of the cyclonic events that come out of the tropics, and people are equating that to changes associated with climate change. So a need to act. In our agricultural sector, I think the vast majority of our farmers would also see that need, and they're getting that signal clearly from their markets. So the key agricultural or food industries are driving that agenda. We do have a very small but very vocal minority group that don't believe we need to change and are using a degree of misinformation and an alternative science facts to support that view. But they're in the minority.
Yeah, I think from Denmark, I can echo a lot of what you said from New Zealand. There is generally broad public support for climate action. I think in 2019, we had climate change being the biggest topic on people's minds when they went to vote in the national elections. And it consistently rates as one of the main topics that people have on top of their minds when they go vote. So, and even within the agricultural sector, I also think that, I mean, I talked about the agreement we made in Denmark that was made with the farmers. So the farmers also know, acknowledge, and accept that we have to do something and that there's actions to be taken.
Yeah. So for Uruguay, as you saw, our emission profile is quite unique. So when you talk about reducing methane, you're always talking about farmers, and specifically 44,000 farmers. So it's a very small amount of people that you have to reach on, and those public policies that we have to go is always Uruguay went to sanitary control, that we know specifically that we have some benefits in terms of reducing GHG and methane. And in terms of our, I would say, country's concerns, it's always been there, because we always engage and we always commit internationally, and we work also together with FAO with projects that knows and that give us the opportunity to understand better how we can cut down methane emissions in our native grasslands. That is very difficult.
Thank you. Anna, let's start this with you, because Denmark has done quite a lot and is ahead of most countries when it comes to methane mitigation. So what policies or incentives have been the most effective in encouraging the adoption of methane reducing technologies or practices in the livestock industry?
Thank you. So I mentioned during the presentation how we're now working with the feed additive side, which is probably the newest branch on the tree in terms of methane mitigations. I think for the past 30 years, we've worked a lot with manure management technologies, and we have a pretty well-established infrastructure for biogas in Denmark too. So those has been, throughout the last 30 years, very important tools for us to ensure methane mitigation and some of the things that we've been working on here.
John?
Yeah, we have no policy to incentivize interventions yet. Again, largely because our system doesn't have any interventions. So if we look at the effluent storage, which contributes often between 10 and 15% to the methane emissions in many countries, it contributes about 5 to 6% in ours. We do have a solution to that now, and we're actively looking at how we can partner with industry to roll that out. We're looking at strategies around interventions around genetics, but really until we have credible tools that can be implemented in a twice-a-day feeding system at the least, there's nothing there to get farmers to use. But if history has taught us anything, New Zealand farmers adopt innovations really rapidly when they can be shown to have benefit either to the farm, to their profitability, or to general society. So,
thanks, John. Johnny, is there any incentives or any policies that help adoption of methane technologies?
Well, not directly, but yes, indirectly. So, for example, we have policies that are the ones that I showed you, for example, helping farmers to improve their usage of the grasses, manage stock rates to go get those cows pregnant and get those steers younger. So that indirectly increase productivity and reduce total methane. The goal is to increase productivity and help farmers economically. But I know that there is a synergy because the projects that we made make sure that you increase productivity, increase income, and reduce methane. So we have some policies that are trying to boost productivity, but that it goes consistently to reducing methane in some systems that are overstocked.
Thank you. So, I'll go to the next question, and I'll start with you, Dr. Raju. So you mentioned you're teaming up with Cornell University. So is there any kind of other international collaborations that promote sustainable livestock practices and mitigating methane emissions?
So at present, we are having that pilot project and all the rest of the system with Cornell University. EDF is also there with us. Shortly we'll be having MOU with them also. But we are open. We are open for the foreign collaborations with us. But just now we have started with that. We have opened the door for these things. So definitely more and more investors are eager to come to for this project. Yes, we are also funding because when you are doing such a big project, you definitely need the technology coming into it, the technical persons coming into it. We need the experience of the developed countries, those who have already done this type of the mitigation measures they want. We are open to it, and my government is also open for the investments that they are ready for this. Definitely.
John, I know our Secretary of Agriculture mentioned that there was some collaborations going on with New Zealand, but what kind of international collaborations do you have and projects going on with New Zealand?
Yeah, probably too many to mention, Ermias, but look, the famous quote, none of us is as smart as all of us. So we really promote international collaborations. Our research institutes, our universities collaborate internationally. From a government perspective, our main push for international collaborations is through the Global Research Alliance, which has been hugely successful. Obviously, we've got 68 countries around the world collaborating to reduce ruminant greenhouse gases. That's enabled us to, I think, support 70 projects, 140 different researchers involved in those from New Zealand. We do have within the GRA, we have a strong bilat with Ireland, a joint call where the Irish Department of Agriculture, Food and the Marine and the Ministry for Primary Industries co-fund joint projects. So we've got very similar systems. We're on the opposite ends of the calendar, so we can run 2 experiments in 1 year from that perspective. So yeah, lots of international collaborations, but primarily through the Global Research Alliance.
Thank you. Anna?
Yes, from a Danish perspective, international collaborations is also key. It's something we value very highly. We do it in many different ways. We are highly invested in the FAO work. We have an MOU with the state of California. We do these collaborations in many different ways. We also do strategic sector corporations, which is focused on capacity building in developing nations, where we bring some of our knowledge from Denmark out to other parts of the world, where we help them learn and share the knowledge of some of the practices that we've had success implementing, and inspire how to set up a regulatory system that can accommodate some of these challenges.
Jenny?
We have a lot of engagement internationally with many countries, but also with FAO. Amable showed us the Livestock Environmental Assessment Partnership. Uruguay has committed for more than 10 years to develop these international guidelines to measure the environmental footprint of animals. So that also gives the opportunity for researchers to exchange knowledge with other researchers. But also we have a partnership with our national research institutes. So in terms of knowledge exchange, there's a lot of exchange between international research institutes.
Thank you very much. I think this is probably we have one more. Okay, yeah. So before I go to the next one, I like to give a shout out to Global Methane Hub and Bezos Earth Fund and Spark Climate Solutions that are bringing together international teams and collaborations that's happening. So it's nice to see that all of those collaborations are happening. I was told we have time for one more question. So how can we ensure that methane reduction efforts in livestock farming are equitable and considerate of the livelihoods of farmers and communities? Not an easy one, but anybody want to take a stab at it?
I'm happy to start, and I'm probably only echoing what Anna has talked about and what Amable mentioned this morning. You put the farmer at the center of the discussion. They're the people that are going to have to implement whatever solutions that we come up with, and whether they're regulatory or voluntary, they're still the people that are going to have to be able to implement. A quote from Dale Carnegie out of How to Win Friends and Influence People was, "The man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still." So if they're not involved in the conversation, they won't be voluntary partners in the implementation of the solutions.
I can chip in too. I totally agree. Farmers at the center is so important. And I think also this reflects a lot of how we work in Denmark with combining farmers, academia, and the government to come up with solutions together when we talk about these things, and to make sure that we keep investing in new technology, we keep investing in the research that is going to drive us forward.
I totally agree with you, and I think that we are on a common ground that the farmers are key for make this change, but also taking care that even in developed countries, middle-income countries, and developing countries, we have huge differences between farmers. So small farmers are the ones that we have to take care, because they have to care mainly of income. So when you ask them, are you aware that you are emitting methane, they say, I don't know. Most of them, they would say, it's if there is a list of problems, that is my last problem. So it's their economic development and their social stability. And it's the main care, and the policies should go with trying to understand the livelihoods of those small farmers, because big farmers, I wouldn't say that they can take care of their own, but they can invest more in new technologies and actions easier than the small farmers.
Yeah, I think I agree with all of them, but then the farmers being in the center of point, we need to incentivize, because this is a very new chapter for them, at least in the developing countries. So we need to incentivize them, and the technology and capacity building. And these are one of the strongest pillar that we need to incorporate in these areas, at least in the developing countries. That will definitely make a change. They are ready to understand it, but it's the way how we make them understand these things. So I think all the three the incentivizing the farmer, the capacity building, and the new technologies, and the simplest technology. It shouldn't be too much cumbersome one. It's the simplest technology that we need to come. With all the people coming down here, we'll definitely have this kind of technologies coming into India, and that will definitely help our farmers also. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm sure we could go on for a long time, but help me in thanking the panelists for this morning session.